Imagine someone freezes your bank account, cuts off your access to international markets, bans you from buying technology, freezes your assets across the entire world, and does it for 40 years straight. Most economists would say a country like that collapses within a decade. But Iran didn't just survive. It built a military that keeps the world's greatest power on edge. It launched satellites. It produced drones that ended up on Ukrainian battlefields. It enriched uranium at levels that alarm global nuclear agencies. How is that even possible? And what are you not being told about this story? Today we break it all down, no filters. It was 1979. The Islamic Revolution had toppled Shah Reza Pahlavi, a man installed and kept in power by the CIA. Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. For 444 days, they held 52 American diplomats hostage. Washington's response was immediate. Jimmy Carter signed Executive Order 12170. Iranian assets in the United States, roughly $12 billion, frozen in a single move. That was the first blow. But Iran had also just lost its biggest trading partner. About 40% of its exports had gone to the U.S. And yet, instead of negotiating, the new regime chose a different path. It chose resistance. And that changed everything. But here's what almost nobody knows. Sanctions didn't weaken Iran economically in the long run. Quite the opposite. They forced Iran to build something no other country in the region has: a fully self-sufficient economy. But before we get there, you need to understand what came next after 1979. 1980. Saddam Hussein attacks Iran. With the implicit backing of the West, the U.S. supplies Iraq with intelligence. Europe sells it weapons. Iran is isolated diplomatically, sanctioned economically, and attacked militarily, all at once. Duration of the war, 8 years. Iranian casualties, estimated between 200,000 and 600,000 dead. And yet, Iran didn't surrender. Instead of buying weapons from the West because it couldn't, it started building its own. It created the Defense Industries Organization in 1981. It invested in local engineers. It built underground factories. By the end of the war, Iran had something invaluable: its own military-industrial capacity, dependent on no one. Now let's talk economics. By the 1990s, Iran was under sweeping sanctions. It couldn't trade normally. It couldn't access Western technology. It couldn't use the SWIFT banking system for most transactions. So what did it do? First move, it fully nationalized the oil industry, no longer dependent on Western companies for extraction. Second move, it built deep partnerships with China and Russia. China became Iran's largest oil buyer, even in the middle of a full sanctions regime. Third move, and this one is critical, it invested massively in education. Iran today has one of the highest rates of engineering graduates in the world. #1 in the Middle East for scientific research output. That's not propaganda. That's a UNESCO statistic. But there's something else. Something Western analysts rarely acknowledge openly. The sanctions created a class of Iranian entrepreneurs who built parallel systems of trade and finance. A system so sophisticated that some economists call it sanctions proofing. But how does it actually work? Iran built a commercial network that bypasses sanctions through several mechanisms. First, shell companies. Fictitious firms registered in Dubai, Turkey, Malaysia. They buy goods, then resell them to Iran. Second, transactions in local currencies. Abandoning the US dollar, using the Chinese yuan, the Indian rupee, the Turkish lira. Third, direct barter. Oil for technology, oil for medicine, oil for grain. This parallel economy is not small. Estimates suggest Iran exports between 1.5 and 2 million barrels of oil per day under maximum sanctions. How? Through tankers that switch off their transponders, through ship-to-ship transfers in open waters, through intermediate ports. It's a complex, ingenious, and, it has to be said, effective system. Now we reach the part that best explains the Iranian paradox. How did a country with no access to Western weaponry become a military superpower? Answer: precisely because it had no access. Iran was forced to invest in asymmetric technology. It didn't try to build an F-35. It built cheap, precise, and hard to intercept drones. The Shahed drone program started in the 1980s. Today, the modern variant, the Shahed 136, costs approximately $20,000 per unit. A U.S. Patriot missile system to intercept it costs $3 to $4 million. Think about that. A cost ratio of 1 to 150 in Iran's favor. The same logic applies to ballistic missiles. Iran today holds one of the largest ballistic missile stockpiles in the world, estimated at over 3,000 units of various types. It doesn't need aircraft carriers. It has missiles that can sink aircraft carriers. But the story isn't complete without addressing something that Israel and the U.S. consistently present in a distorted way: Iran's nuclear program. What's true? What's exaggerated? And why does it matter? Iran signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. It has the legal right to civilian nuclear energy. Iran's nuclear program began in 1957 with American help. Yes, you heard that right. Under Eisenhower's Atoms for Peace program, the Tehran research reactor was built with U.S. support. The 1979 revolution changed everything. Suddenly, the same nuclear program that had been peaceful became an existential threat. What do IAEA data actually say? That Iran has not produced a nuclear weapon, that it enriches uranium to 60%, well below the 90% threshold needed for a bomb. Israel, meanwhile, is estimated to hold around 90 nuclear warheads. It has not signed the NPT. It allows no international inspectors. This isn't a moral judgment. It's a narrative asymmetry. The West sanctions a state for a civilian nuclear program, while ignoring the undeclared nuclear arsenal of its regional partner. Now let's talk about leadership. Not in ideological terms, but in concrete economic policy terms. Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani, president from 1989 to 1997. He launched privatization and economic liberalization plans. He rebuilt infrastructure destroyed by the war. He attracted massive Chinese investment into the energy sector. Mohammad Khatami, 1997 to 2005. He proposed the dialogue of civilizations. He reopened diplomatic relations with Europe. He negotiated a temporary suspension of the nuclear program in 2003. Under his tenure, Iran's GDP grew by 40%. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, 2005 to 2013. Controversial, yes, but he implemented the most ambitious social subsidy program in Iranian history. He distributed oil dividends directly to citizens, a unique program in the region. Under maximum sanctions, GDP per capita initially rose. Hassan Rouhani, 2013 to 2021. He negotiated the 2015 JCPOA nuclear deal. Partial sanctions were lifted. The Iranian economy grew by 12.5% in 2016, one of the fastest rates in the world that year. Then Trump pulled the U.S. out of the deal in 2018, with no technical justification cited by the IAEA. Sanctions came back harder than ever. But the Iranian economy survived again. Where does Iran stand today? In April 2026, Iran's GDP is estimated at around $400 billion, with a shadow economy estimated at several tens of billions more. Inflation remains a serious problem, around 35 to 40% annually. The Iranian rial has lost much of its value since 2018. But Iran has not collapsed. Domestic industrial output is at record levels. Iran's automotive industry produces over 1 million vehicles per year. The pharmaceutical sector produces 95% of the country's medicine domestically. The food industry is almost entirely self-sufficient. And geopolitically, Iran joined BRICS in 2023, alongside China, Russia, Brazil, India, South Africa. That means access to an alternative financial system, a system that doesn't depend on the US dollar. And that may be Iran's biggest strategic bet in recent years. So what have we learned? Sanctions work, partially. They create real suffering for ordinary citizens. They drive up inflation, reduce access to goods, isolate the population. But they don't destroy states with a strong national identity and their own resources. On the contrary, they can turn a Western-dependent state into a self-sufficient power, with a drone army, ballistic missiles, and a nuclear program that makes it militarily untouchable. This is not an argument in favor of the Iranian regime. It's not an argument against it either. It's a cold-blooded analysis. 40 years of sanctions haven't changed Iran's government, haven't eliminated the nuclear program, haven't stopped the military. What have they done? They've reinforced the domestic narrative of resistance against imperialism. They've given the regime a perfect excuse for every economic problem. And they've created a generation of engineers and entrepreneurs who learn to build instead of import. Reality is more complicated than any news headline. And if you made it this far, you're the kind of person who wants to understand the world, not just consume.